Hi, welcome back for another video. As I mentioned in the previous video, I had a bit of, when I was doing the DIY on this silk shirt, I had some extra scraps from the collar as well as the sides that I've taken in. So I wanted to keep those because it's such a nice luxurious material. I may as well try and do something with it. So I have them here. So this came from the collar. They originally fit together like that. I just ripped all of them apart, so I have two pieces. And I now realize I think one side has I think they call it interfacing, which just stabilizes the fabric, and the other side doesn't. But I compared it with my favorite scrunchie that I have on hand, this blue one from Lululemon. Now that I'll be making a new one, I'll have a backup one to use. I really enjoy the size of this on my wrist. The bow could do with or without, but I like how it's loose enough on the wrist, as well as the materials quite relaxed without being overly puffy, because I don't want to take up my entire wrist. Anyways, basically what I'm saying is I like the dimensions that they've used for this, and this seems to be about right. I've just I measured it, and it looks like it's half of it. So when I fold it over in half, sew it up, and then I'll put a band in it. So that's basically what I'm doing here. I just try to roughly measure how long this one was by stretching it to the max so that the fabric's taut. So it looks like it's going all the way down to here. And then I'm just gonna double that because obviously it's doubled, which means that I will probably sew it around here. So in terms of other materials, you can use any sort of fabric for this really. I wanted to use silk because it's supposed to be good for your hair and whatnot, and I love the color of this fabric. And I don't have a white scrunchie anyway. And then I just have some pins, needle and matching thread, scissors, and some elastic band that you can get from the craft store. I also like the width of this. I think that'll make it good, that it won't pinch your hair too much. Yeah, so I just roughly measured. I think I want it to be around there, and of course we want to give a little extra for seam allowance. So I'm just going to mark it with a pin. So I think I want it to end around here because I think that'll give it, you want to see how much scrunch you want. This one's not super snug, but the more fabric you have, the more tight it'll be. Whereas I kind of like the way it is here, which is why I'm trying to base it off of this. Just double checking that again. I think I actually might make it a little bit longer because I don't think I'm getting the full stretch of the fabric. So when you sew the tube, you want to do it inside out. And since it's already creased here, I'm going to try to follow the holes where the seam was already, and then sew it together in a tube all the way down and leave the ends open, or at least mostly open enough that you can fit the elastic through. Okay, yes, I'm just going to fold it in half and pin it. And again, I'm going to try not to fray the fabric too much because this stuff does fray easily. Obviously, if you're cutting the fabric from a bigger piece, you want to make sure you keep in mind seam allowances and whatnot. And at least for this project, it won't matter as much if you sew in a straight line because it'll be all scrunched up, so no one will be able to tell. Of course, I still want to work on getting it mostly aligned and straight, just for my own building up my own skills, but we shall see. It honestly probably could be a little bit wider, but yeah, working with what we got here. I think these pieces are also slightly curved. I'm thinking I'll probably have an easier time with this piece because it has interfacing behind it to stabilize the material. And it is a bit curved, but that won't really be noticeable. I've actually done this before on the linen shirt that I've DIY'd before, that I haven't recorded the process of, but it was fine. And especially because this collar was a bit wide anyway, which is why I removed it. Should have a little bit of extra fabric to work with. I actually haven't finished the shirt DIY, but I kind of need a break from the stress it was causing me, so I thought I'd do something a little bit easier to finish and have a little bit more, I don't know, extra motivation to finish that project. So I have a piece of thread that's a bit longer than the length of my tube, but I'm just gonna start sewing. Okay, so I successfully sewn it into a tube. Just sewing that seam across all the way, and I'm just going to stick the elastic in to see if it's the right amount of scrunch that I want for my scrunchie before I finish off the sewing, to see if I need to undo some stitches or add some more on. So I'm just scrunching it through the elastic and pulling it through the tube. Obviously it's still inside out because I just want to make sure that it's the right size before I officially finish it off. Okay, scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. So just pulling it through the other end. So just seeing what it'll look like when it's wrist sized. So it'll be, there's like that much scrunch to it. It'll probably be a bit tighter because I want it snug on the wrist. Hold on. It's kind of hard to do. So I'm just gonna readjust the scrunch. And I feel like actually I could probably use a little bit more, if anything. So I'm just gonna keep sewing maybe to like pretty much till it gets to the triangle bit where I'm gonna have to connect them anyway. Yeah, I think it's gonna need just a little bit more to get that same look, but it looks like kind of like the same size as my other one. Obviously it's probably gonna be a bit smaller once I flip it inside out. So I'm just gonna keep sewing for a little bit longer. And I think I have just enough thread. Like that's where I've stopped sewing it, and there's so much thread I have left. I think I'm gonna sew it to about, probably just till the max length that I have, because I still have the other piece to try out as well. And I'll get back to you. All right, so I am done there. I went almost to the end and then I ran out of thread, so we're gonna see how that looks. And if we need to go and continue, I will cut another piece of thread, but we have our tube. And now I'm just gonna roll it in and flip it inside out and just push it through itself. I think sometimes they use like a safety pin to do this, but I think it might be wide enough that I can kind of just push it through with my finger and pull it out. Sorry. Yeah, just push the end back through itself so you get the nice clean edge, and hopefully my stitching will look okay. So far so good. It's looking good enough. And yeah, anyways, like I said, because it won't be flat anyway, you won't be able to tell too much if the tension is a bit off. I will say though, it's probably easier if you're trying this for the first time to use a non-stretch fabric and just make sure you have enough of it to go around your hair. It's not too small when you try and tie your hair with it. Okay, and that tube is all the way through. You can see my line. It's a little bit uneven, but I think it'll be fine. And I'm just gonna take this. Actually, I might, just to make my life easier, put a safety pin through the end of the elastic. I do wonder how long I want this to be at any rate. I think probably like where it's like snug on my wrist, but not too tight. But I think we can do that after we pop it through. So, and now we're just pushing the elastic through. And it's actually not too bad because there's enough fabric and the elastic is stiff enough to just be threaded through. I probably didn't actually need the safety pin, but I just thought, you know, just in case. Okay, so it's out the other end. Now I'm just gonna take it and scrunch all the material down. And then I'm gonna measure it on my wrist again. Yeah, so I think that much is gonna be good. I'm just gonna compare that to my other scrunchie. Where did it go? Sitting on it, as always. So I think that's gonna be about right. I'm just gonna tie it together. I think I'm gonna double knot it, align up the ends, trim them, and then hand sew them together from the outside, but trying to tuck in the fraying edge of the fabric. So I think it actually could probably do with a little bit more fabric. So I'm just gonna sew it up till the very end of the triangle that I have here. I have threaded it through. I sewed up the last bit, so I just have a little bit more fabric to work with. And I just tied a double knot here, but I just tested it on my wrist. It's not too snug on my wrist, but just snug enough. It's a little bit tighter than my other one actually, but I feel like the elastic tends to like eventually loosen up on these. So I think that'll be good. Yeah, I'm just gonna tighten the knot there and then put a couple stitches through it and then trim off the ends and sew it together. So I'll be right back. Okay, so just tighten the knot there. Make sure that's really nice and secure. And I'll just trim the end off, giving a little bit of space just to make sure that the knot doesn't come undone. Make sure that still feels good. I think so. And to sew it up. So I have it bound there and I just have the seams aligned. So I'm just gonna trim off this little triangle bit of fabric on both ends so that way I can, it won't get in the way of the final seam. Okay, I'm just gonna align the seams up and then I'm just gonna sew all the way around, just trying to keep the fraying edge in. Okay, so I think the best way I found to be able to do this is just pin them flat on both ends. That way I can make sure that the insides are tucked in, and I'm just gonna try and sew them back and forth and go onto each other. So yeah, I just have it pinned on both sides. And now I just have to sew them and then we'll be done. Okay, so I thought I'd just show you the actual process instead of just explaining it every time. So I have it here. I took out the pins because they kept stabbing me, but I've just been trying to take just a little bit of fabric on each side. So that way it gives me that really nice clean seam. So just a little bit on that side, pull it through. Oh, it doesn't want to pull through. Okay, pull it through. So then it closes, and then I do the same thing on the other side, and that's how I've been getting that nice seam. We are so close, like last stretch, but look how cute this is. Okay, so light's fading because I think it's gonna rain soon, which is a little concerning because I have a gym class that I have to run over to in about half an hour, but I think I should be able to finish this project off before then, so that'll be really exciting. But yeah, you can see I'm almost fully closed, and I've just made sure to like keep my stitches really small and tight to each other. That way it forms a really nice clean seam, unlike where I have it here, where you can kind of see the gaps between the two sides. So I'm just gonna finish it off. The knot's gonna have to be on the outside, but I'm gonna try to trim. I usually knot it a couple times and then I trim the end really close, so that way it won't show as obvious when it's on the right side, on the outside of the material. But yeah, so I'm gonna close that up and then I will try it on and see how well it works. Okay, very exciting. It is done, and I'm just gonna snip it. So I just take the scissors, push up against the fabric, snip, and it's done. That actually feels like really soft and nice. I just love the feel of that. So it's another day, and I actually cut my hair because it was kind of annoying me because I already had it waved, and then I realized I still didn't like the way they look, so that kind of gave me the hint, like, okay, then it's probably because even though I've tried to like make it look nice, I still don't like it, so I just cut it because it was bothering me. But yeah, so I made my little scrunchie, and I think it looks really cute, and it actually is really comfortable in the hair. But like, yeah, how cute is that? I think it's pretty cute. But yeah, I think it looks really good. I actually did 2 of them. Hold on, I'll grab the other one. So I finished making both of them. You'll notice, like, even though they're the same dimensions, this one's looking a lot like thicker than this one, just because this one had the interfacing inside. So when I made this one, also like the seam, I think I did a better job on, because I actually because it was already pressed this way, so I just kind of connected the sides while having the wrong sides together and the right side out, just that way I could like see what I was doing with it. Yeah, but it kind of like goes to show, if you want to see what size you want it, you want to consider like how stiff the fabric is and how it will lay. But yeah, I'm obsessed with both of them. I think when I have them on my wrists, it kind of reminds me of like a jester's costume or something. But anyways, I think it's still pretty cute, and I'm happy with how it turned out. So this is a good little fast DIY. Great if you have like extra little scraps of fabric, especially if it's silk or something. That's fun to work with. So yeah, that's my little scrunchie.